right, I'm currently on the phone with Ken. He's another musician that reached out about the current interview session. So I'm going to go ahead and give him the chance to introduce himself.
Hey, hi there, another Ken. So I'm Ken Magerman, Precious Ken, the Duchess. I am the singer, guitar player for the band Amaranth. We are, I suppose, a comedy goth band, or at least one that doesn't take ourselves too seriously. As well as I run the music review page slash interview webpage slash Facebook group Sounds and Shadows, where people come together and talk about music, art, any of kind of the dark scene genre and try and help lift each other up. And I'm excited to be here with you today.
Awesome. Well, definitely thanks for taking the time. So let's kind of go back to the beginning. Tell me about, how you kind of first, encountered music and decided that it was important enough that you wanted to pursue it.
Sure. That was very early for me. I got lucky that I had a really cool uncle, my mom's youngest brother, that I don't know, took me to a rave when I was 13, took me to the first Lollapalooza, the first couple of them, where I grew up in Clarkston, Michigan. And immediately I was kind of hit with it. And this was just me. And then as I learned more and started playing myself, I played in marching band, jazz band, things like that in school, and just got a love and appreciation for it. So when I started on guitar, bass, music like that, it was a great natural transition. And as long as I can remember, music's always been a big part of my life. I think the first two albums I ever bought with my own money going to the record store would be Michael Jackson Thriller and Cyndi Lauper She's So Unusual. I think I must have been not more than 10 or 11 when I did that. So that's how far back music was a big deal to me.
Awesome. So, going through school and then also high school, having music around you and learning instruments and everything, how did you continue to keep it in your life, like in your young adult years?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, when I got to college, we kind of started the first iteration of Amaranth back then when we were just young, silly, 19, 20-year-old goth kids, thinking that we had all the answers in the world and trying to write songs about it, banging away on used equipment. And then we started to actually get somewhere with it. And we got a chance to play some bigger shows opening for people and going along. And again, it was just something that was always a part of my life as long as I can remember, up until being 46 now. And that I've gotten back into it and kind of found a new outlet for music now, since being 40. It's been wonderful to be back out playing shows again and cutting new albums, because I feel like I have a lot more to say now, or at least a lot more that makes sense. And B, I'm better on my instruments. I'm better with my voice as an instrument. And I have an appreciation, though, for what it was like to be 20 and maybe not know that, but thought I did.
Okay, so tell me about kind of the different iterations of bands you went through that kind of led up to, the project that you're working on now.
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, there early on, I was doing goth music, and industrial stuff. Then we went through a phase of kind of mod, really into the Who, the Rolling Stones, things like that. And then shoegaze, and then it all came full circle and back into goth, just not trying to take it as seriously this time.
Okay, so that's a great point to kind of bring up. What kind of made you decide on that tonal shift?
I suppose just age and wisdom of realizing that music like that has very dark themes, that I think are very relatable to people. But at the same time, if you're wearing frilly cuffs and a velvet vest and taking yourself too seriously, then you really miss the point and a lot of the fun of goth, in my opinion. And so I think that just came from being able to be more self introspective. later on, and that goth songs can be about ninjas and butt stuff and just fun, but still, have that gallows humor darkness about
Okay, so tell me about what you guys are up to. Are you guys in the studio recording, out doing shows, gigging around the country? Like, what are you guys up to?
Sure. So I think from doing Sounds and Shadows and getting to know so many bands around the world and doing it, I've really come to appreciate that you can be a part of music and music that's good, and have something to say, but it doesn't mean that you necessarily have to be in a van driving around the country to be a part of that. And just being comfortable with that's who we are now. That we're a band that we have a new album that we're going to have coming out releasing soon. We just dropped a new single last month called Thighs out on Bandcamp, about what it's like to get too drunk and head back to your hotel room after a show and wake up in the morning with a perfect imprint of your makeup and eyeliner on your partner's inner thigh. And it just, so yeah, we're doing shows. We got a big show coming up on Saturday where we're opening for Aurelio Voltaire, who, if you were kind of in the comedy goth genre, is about as big as you can get in it. He kind of invented that. So getting a chance to play those shows, but not that we're traveling around a lot to do it. A lot of times, because of the web page and the review page, we get the opportunity to open for bands that are doing that and are much bigger than ourselves, but we just get to share in and be a part of their night. And to me, that's about what I want out of music right now. I think if David Geffen, got on the horn to me and said, "Hey Ken, I'll pay you just as much as you're making now working your day job to travel around the country in a van and smell Colin's farts and roll around playing shows every night, being away from your wife and cat," 20-year-old Ken would have jumped on that in a minute. But 46-year-old Ken, that doesn't really sound like that much fun being a band, and so I'd much rather have the connection to music that I have now, where I get to share in other people's excitement rather than my own whatever personal glory for it, if that makes sense.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. And so you mentioned the review page and everything. So tell me about that project as well.
Sure. It was about 5 years ago. I I blew off a lot of goth music or even just new music in general for a long time. I don't know. I went through kind of this bitter period in like the early 2000s through 2015 where I kind of just said nothing good is coming out anymore. And if it's not the Sisters of Mercy or Joy Division or whatever, it's probably crap, you know? And all of a sudden I kind of opened my eyes in 2015 and started finding all these great new bands like the Actors and Twin Tribes and Bootblacks. And I just got so excited that great new important music was coming out in the genre that I loved again. And it got me fired up. And one night, wasted at like 2 a.m., I said to myself, I could write reviews about these bands and tell people like I could have a music review page. And I just started tapping away on the keyboard and did that first review for the album Shadows by Twin Tribes. And doing that was just, I didn't expect it to go anywhere. And the band reached out to me. A lot of other people reached out that didn't know about Twin Tribes, and I found an audience for it. And things just started growing more and more and more. Then I had my own web page where I was doing the reviews, and I started doing interviews and having those on YouTube. And then I used the Facebook group as a way to kind of get the word out about it. But then I also used the Facebook group to let people ask questions, to talk to other bands, to talk to other artists, to have a producer meet a band that they didn't know to do mastering or mixing work for them, to have a visual artist do album covers for them. And I started letting all these connections happen there. And now we're coming up on about 7,000 members. And it's just great to see the way that it's grown and blossomed in just 5 short years for that, which has also led to a lot of great things for Amaranth and the band because of a lot of these bigger artists reaching out, and I've got a chance to help them and tell other people about them. So it's been wonderful all the way around.
Yeah, that's very cool. That's an awesome project. That's kind of along the lines of how I started doing this project of just kind of wanting to, help give something back to the musician community. So, with all the time that you've been in music, obviously it's been a couple decades now from your description. What are some of your like favorite memories that stand out to you and kind of keep you motivated to stay in the game?
I can think of a lot of ones, whether it was shows I've seen or things I've done, when we've played. But I think the big thing for all of it is just having a connection to music, and especially nowadays, remembering when you see, I don't know, Depeche Mode tickets for $400 or things like that. In recent years, honestly, it has been some of my favorite where I got to see the actors or bands like that play for 10, $15 at a local club on a Friday night at, Smalls or someplace like that in Detroit, and get to feel like those people that were there to see, I don't know, the Sex Pistols or Joy Division or something, in England in the 70s as I was being born. I think that's something that I really hope people embrace right now, because fans going out and seeing live music is the lifeblood of what makes this worthwhile. And just this past Monday, I saw Twin Tribes play in Ann Arbor at the Blind Pig. And one of the things that, I don't know, it made me misty, like really, fired me up, was the fact that that room was packed on a Monday night to see a new goth band, and everybody there was younger than me. And I can't remember the last time I felt like that or saw that about my genre, because usually it's one that's pretty obsessed with the past. And so getting to see that, I mean, I know, thinking back to all kinds of memories, but to me, one that recent that struck in my mind where I'm looking around this room and watching kids be fired up about music and excited and screaming at the stage while Joel and Luis just absolutely slayed up there is one of those moments that sticks out in my mind right now. Is just so beautiful that this is still happening.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're absolutely right. It's been very difficult to go out and play shows and see what the current state of the crowds are. They are coming back though. I know in 2021, in the band that I'm in, we went out and did a tour and it was like awful. We were playing to like rooms of like two people.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. I mean, especially post COVID. I mean, that really hurt things and made it difficult to come back. But music finds a way, just like life.
All right. Well, so what are some social media links where people can, check out your review pages, listen to your stuff?
So the easiest way to find us is on Bandcamp, which is what I usually suggest for a lot of people because it actually puts money back in the hands of the artists a lot more than streaming services sometimes. So I always try and plug it. So we're on there as The Amaranth at Bandcamp, but we're on Spotify. As well as Apple streaming, all those places you can get our music, and then you can also find Sounds and Shadows if you want to learn a lot more about goth, industrial, dark wave, post punk music here in the modern era. It is soundsandshadows.com. We're also as Sounds and Shadows on YouTube, on Facebook, on TikTok, all of that stuff. Where if you're interested in kind of getting your finger on the modern pulse of what's going on in that type of music, that is where to find us. And if you're a band that's interested in being reviewed, reach out to me on Facebook or Twitter, and send me a Bandcamp link or something to listen to. We have a team of, we're up to 10 writers now. So I've always got somebody looking to listen to your stuff and have a chance to get a review for you and potentially an interview.
Awesome, very cool. So I always like to give the person I'm interviewing the opportunity to put out their final words. So what's a message that you have that you think other people should hear?
I think the biggest message that I have that people need to hear is get excited about the future for music and find little ways to share stuff that you like. You'd be really shocked at how much it means to bands these days when you just take a minute, whether it's saying a few words or sharing some link that they put out there, or even reaching out in a message, which is kind of how I started with Sounds and Shadows, and just saying, wow, you guys freaking rock. And I love this album and I'm really excited about it. How much a musician a lot of times needs to hear that. And it means more to them that you'd think, even bigger name ones, because imposter syndrome is very real. So take the time to tell bands that you love their music and you appreciate it.